Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes. How's it going?
Ah, finally it works. I don't know, I've been trying to set this up for a while now.
Oh yeah,
Where are you from?
from Pennsylvania, the states.
Ah, Pennsylvania. I went to school
Yeah.
in Philly.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, St.
nice.
Joe's.
I'm just north of Philly.
North of Philly?
Yeah,
North of Philly. What, on
it's like
476?
it's up 476, an hour north,
So what?
Lehigh Valley.
Oh, Lehigh Valley. Yeah, I've been to
Yeah.
Scranton and Hazleton and Drums, that whole area.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
That's
I'm
what's up.
actually Russian. I'm living in Moscow, Russia. I just studied in the States for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How's everything over there in Russia?
Not bad. I mean,
No.
like difficult like everywhere else, but no, well, not like everywhere else. I heard Sri Lanka was on their last day of gas. They don't have any more gas.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, those people have it hard. Well, here everything's fine. Just the weather kind of sucks a bit today, but not bad. You?
Mm, things are good here. Can't complain. You know, can't complain. Well, how you feel about the war? You pro war or
Well, war is terrible in general, but you know,
do you
someone
think?
else started it, so now we have to end it again. Kind of sucks that we get a nice visit from a bunch of people once every 70 years, and we have to answer the call.
So you think it's a righteous war? You guys are doing the right thing?
Well, see, the thing is, when you've had people being killed and bombarded for like 8 years, and no matter what kind of agreements were put in place, no matter how many talks or conversations were made, nobody seemed to care. I mean, if if someone was killing Americans somewhere, I'm sure America would respond quite quickly. So
Yeah, yeah, we would.
you'd respond instantly. I mean, remember that one guy that you shot with a drone? He was somewhere in the Middle East. He was
Salamanca.
no, I can't remember his name, but that
Well, there was
was
a lot of guys that we took out with
no, but
drones
that one was
in the
specific. That
Middle
that one
East.
was
Yeah, well,
specific.
Salamanca was he was a diplomat. That was an illegal strike that we did on that guy. You know what I mean? He was a member of a foreign state.
I know.
And we droned him.
I think we're talking about two different people. I was
Uh,
talking about somebody not in not in Iran, but somewhere else in the Middle East. Either way, so America would
but he was
respond
in
instantly.
Iraq when we bombed him. He was in Iraq when we
Hmm.
took him out.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
we're definitely talking about two different people. But either way, yeah, I mean, America would respond, so Russia's responding now. I mean, we got backed into a corner and doing what we have to do.
You think you think you guys were backed into a corner?
Oh yeah,
What corner were you guys backed into?
no, we are the ones backed into. We didn't back you into a
Yeah, I
corner.
know. What corner was that? Like,
Our big, huge corner that we have back with China and Mongolia.
right.
Because at the end of that corner, then there's the island Diomedes or something like that. That is, we're about a couple of miles away from each other.
Uh,
That's our corner. So
so you're cool with Putin and his leadership and the way he's running the country.
well,
You don't see nothing
well,
suspicious of any of that.
there are pluses and minuses, but when you compare to what the country was like 22 years ago and where it is now, there's a reason why about 80% people here support him.
Mm.
I mean,
And you believe in that as well?
I live
You
here.
think that
I see it
that's
with
true?
I live here. I see it with my own eyes. I travel to a variety of cities in Russia, not just like one city, not just Moscow, with my car, not with a plane. So
Yeah.
I get to see the countryside, just like I did in Pennsylvania when I went up north to Scranton and Hazleton, and then Reading, and went south to Florida as well. So you get to see all the variety of different aspects of life: the poor, the middle class, the rich. And back to when it was 20 years ago, it's entirely different now. I mean, it's changed quite a bit. There's been money poured into infrastructure, schools, roads, hospitals, it's insane how much construction there has been going on for this whole time. So
Wow, nice. Well, that's good. Good. It's good for you.
do you have any
Good
other
for
you,
you.
you have any other questions, man? I'm happy to answer anything.
Nah, yeah, I was just no. Those are my two main questions for any Russian. If you think the war is justified, and if you believe in Putin's leadership, but you certainly sound like you do. So who am I to convince you otherwise?
Well, no,
You know what I
man.
mean? I'm over here. You know what I mean? So I don't really know, but I don't see how any like if America was bombing some other country and taking out civilians and towns, non-military targets, and we're clearly overpowered than that other country. I think America would be protesting in the street. Americans wouldn't put up with that.
Well, I mean,
But,
you have been.
that's
You had Libya, you had
we have a
Iraq.
lot of we have a lot of media sources. We have a lot of information at our disposal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so do
We
we.
don't have state-run media.
We have both. Just like Canada has state-run media, BBC
I
is
mean,
state-run as well in the UK. Do we have
you
both?
guys have both.
Of course.
Yeah.
hmm
Who's your non-state run media?
Moscow Times, that's non-state run. It's quite annoying reading them. I think RBC.ru is non-state run. There's a
And,
bunch.
and they criticize Putin in it, and they
They, I'll,
they
I'll give
criticize the war in it.
I'll give you something else. The war and Putin's criticized on like government channels. That's how bad sometimes it gets. It's not just private channels; it's government channels that this gets criticized. Now, there's a difference between constructive criticism and outright just screaming and shouting and name calling. I am sure we would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that
Sure.
this gets
You
criticized.
gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta articulate your disagreements.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, it's
You know?
just the English Parliament where they scream and shout at each other, right?
Yeah. hmm
So,
Sure.
no, listen, it sucks that it had to come to this, and it's terrible that people's lives are being taken away. Like, I have friends in and from the Ukraine. My
You
grandmother's
believe
roots.
that it had to come to this? Like there was no other
It's been
um
it's been 8 years
there's
of
no other option than
well.
just
How about this?
bullying your neighbor to submission
Well,
and
how
taking
about
out
this?
cities
How
and
about this? Um,
non-military targets.
do you know what the Minsk
Like I
agreements
don't
are?
understand how anybody could I don't understand how anybody could agree with their own country, attacking non-military targets, especially if your country wasn't attacked. Like no one attacked in mainland Russia.
Well,
They might have attacked
do you wanna
disputed
do you wanna
territories
hear the
within.
do you wanna hear my answer or
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry if I
no? It's all right.
ranted.
Well, first of all, in December, our government decided to have a conversation with the government of not the government with the leadership of NATO. And they said, "Listen, we need some guarantees that NATO is not going to move further east." That happened in December, and they were quite public actually. So
hmm
those agreements were just almost thrown in the trash. Nobody cared to listen, and there was lots of warnings. Now, after 8 years of trying to convince Ukraine to stop killing its own citizens, with the Minsk Accords or agreements, I'm sure you're well aware of what they are.
Kind of.
No,
I don't know.
you should read up on them. It's actually that's quite important to understand what they are. So 8 years there was an attempt to have a diplomatic ending with the reintegration of the two new republics. That's part of the Minsk agreements. It was signed by
Yeah.
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 It was signed by Ukraine. It was signed by Germany, France, and Russia as guarantors, and the two representatives from the republics as well. This is a legal agreement, like it's legally binding.
Yeah, but it was like a bullied agreement. You guys
No,
bullied the Ukraine into that
no,
agreement. You guys
no.
didn't diplomatically come to an agreement.
What
You
were the
guys,
points? What were the points of that agreement, though? What were they?
I don't know I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know if you're talking 8 years ago, you're talking when you guys invaded that area.
No, there's absolutely no proof. Even in the OSCE, official documents from the European Commission that was running around in Ukraine, that there were volunteers for sure, like people like you, for example, or myself. They could go over. There were volunteers on both sides, in the west and in the east. But there was no official army in eastern Ukraine from Russia.
Yeah,
That's part of like
Russian-backed separatists.
Well, and you had American-backed illegal coup happening first in the West, so you can't have one versus the other. It's push come to shove, right? It's like Newton's law, one of them. You push hard enough, someone's going to keep pushing back sooner or later. So with the Minsk Accords, Ukraine was going to regain control of its borders. Okay, there was going to be the republics, the new republics were going to be part of Ukraine. The only thing that they asked was to make sure that they have a special status, so they have a special say in regards to controlling what kind of language can be used, whether if they want to use Ukrainian or Russian. That was part of the condition. So they wanted to get that, made sure that those republics are able to speak their own language. And after years and years of trying to make sure that these agreements come through and are upheld, the president of Ukraine in 2019, he said, I'm not going to follow the agreements. And then in 2020 and 2021, he said, I'm not going to follow the agreements. I'm going to take...
That was when he was elected, right?
Yeah.
The new Ukrainian leadership.
Yeah. He said he was not going to follow them
that
anymore.
wasn't Russian-backed leadership.
This was two years. This was the American-backed leadership, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
But they said they were not going to follow them and they were going to attack.
Yeah, because, I mean, they were bullshit. They were bullied agreements. They weren't agreements that, it was a Russian-backed government that just did an agreement with Russia.
No.
That the Ukrainian people weren't even really with.
No.
I mean, as far as I understand, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm not going to tell you, that's the way it is. But
But you got to read them to understand. See, that's the point. If you haven't
but I
read
do
them,
know that at that time it was a pro-Russian government in the Ukraine.
No. These agreements were in 2015. These are
that was pro-Russia time.
No, 2014.
That was the dude that was there before Zelensky.
No. Before Zelensky was Poroshenko. Before Poroshenko was Turchinov, and both of them were after 2014 when the illegal government coup d'état happened. The Minsk agreements were signed in 2015.
By a non-pro-Russian government?
No, it was
I don't know who was there after that.
Poroshenko. He's not.
And where's he at now?
He disappeared. No one knows where he is. No, actually, yeah. People are curious. People are asking questions. No one knows where the hell he is. So
they say he's in Russia. That's what I heard.
No. That's Yanukovych. Yanukovych is in Russia. Yeah. He's the one in 2014 that was illegally removed from office. So he was removed from office on the 22nd.
Was he illegally removed?
Yeah, he was. Because the thing is, you have to know these events and you have to know the timeline to get a better understanding. So when he signed the agreements, not the agreement, there was backing with Germany was there, Poland was there, Russia was there, and he said that I'm going to speak to the opposition. Yeah, I'm going to hold elections earlier. This was in late 2013, early 2014. No, this was early 2014. This was February. He signed, and the very next day, the protests that were very violent didn't calm down. Instead, the protests increased in size, and they had an illegal coup. They literally walked into the government. And the government not voted, but they drafted a bill saying that we're removing him from presidency when they had no constitutional right to do so.
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
sounds like you're just eating up the propaganda, man.
It's not propaganda. It's their own.
Sounds like it. Because from what you're telling me, like Russia is doing nothing wrong. Russia's just, hey man, we were backed into a corner. We had a peaceful agreement with them, with that our own people made. You know what I mean? In your perspective, Russia's not doing anything wrong, right?
No,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is we're trying to get to the source of the problem, and I'm telling you actual factual events that can be verified because they're actually written in Ukrainian
Hmm.
law.
And I'm not disputing those events. I'm not saying that didn't happen. You know what I mean?
No, that's
I'm
fine.
sure I'm sure they did happen,
Yeah. Hmm.
but I mean that doesn't justify invading a sovereign country, your neighbor.
Okay, what about
You know,
14,000 deaths of Russian Ukrainians and Ukrainians in the east at the hands of their own government? Does that justify an invasion?
it doesn't justify taking out civilian targets. You know what I mean? If you're having a war, you do it militarily. That's it, and you don't take. Russia's basically doing
Do
like
you Yeah, but do you know why civilian targets get hit? Were you in the military?
because military is hiding in there. Is that why?
Well, there are two reasons. One is that the anti not just aircraft but anti missile defense systems that any country has, when they shoot down a missile, it can fall down on civilian area. That's one. Two, there are mistakes that happen. So there's three reasons actually. And three, there's enough evidence, there's a ton of evidence out there of, especially with the mall in Kiev, for example. And there was a blogger that actually made a video, and then I think he got persecuted for it by the Ukrainian government, of the military actually having troops and armor inside the mall. And then one missile came and boom, no more mall.
I mean, I don't. You sound like you know. So and you don't see nothing wrong with the same person in power for 22 years. That's okay.
Well, he's not in power for 22 years.
Probably more.
No, less.
How long has it been? When did he get elected? Was it
So it was 2000.
was early 2000s, right?
Yeah, and then there were two terms. Then there was Medvedev for one term, and then
Yeah,
it's
but
still
that was
now.
bullshit. Come on, come on. It's been Putin the whole time.
So you had Bush Senior, you had Bush Junior, you
Yeah.
had Clinton, and then Clinton running. So
Hmm.
who cares? You have if we're talking about how many terms one president can run, it was Ronald
From
Reagan that
the
said that term limits actually are undemocratic because they prevent somebody from voting for who they want to actually have. That was
I
Ronald
don't,
Reagan. That was your president.
yeah, that's a ridiculous statement. That's a ridiculous statement. We put term limits in for a reason.
When'd you
I
do
mean,
that?
we did it. I think it was the 50s. It was after
Yeah,
Roosevelt.
that's right.
Um,
It
he
it was during
he
Truman's
had like
time.
yeah, he had like a long ass run, and people were like, "Nah, man, we ain't putting up with this shit, man.
It
Term
was
limits. We need term limits for our senators as well." Which I don't know why the fuck we haven't done that yet.
Well, they're
But
they're the ones that hold all the
but
power in
from
your government.
2000 to now,
Hmm.
we've had like four different presidents, two different
You
parties.
had Bush,
You know what I mean?
you've had Bush, so two Bush of the same Bush
We,
for eight
we
years.
had
Then you
Bush,
had Obama.
we
Then you
we had
had
Obama, we
Trump.
had Trump,
Then you have
and now
Sleepy
we
Joe.
got Biden.
Yeah,
Now we got Biden. You
but your
know,
congressmen
Sleepy
are all
Joe,
still the same.
the senators, yeah.
The senators,
The
yeah.
con-
So and
the
they
congressmen
kind of
have
run
term limits.
the
Yeah,
show
the
if you think
senators
about it.
run the show, but there's been a lot of turnovers on senators as well. Not as much as we should have, because there's no term limits
Hmm.
and the system's pretty corrupt and rigged, regardless. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But I don't know, man. One man running the show.
But it's not one man running the show. That's the picture
Yes,
you get
it is
in.
one man running the show,
That's the
man.
picture you get in America.
I mean, I don't.
We have a prime minister that runs things internally. We have a finance minister that runs things financially. We have, everyone has a head, whether it's finance or health, the courts. So one person can't overlook everything. That's impossible. That is literally impossible.
So why is that one person's there the whole time?
Because
Why? Why is?
we want him there. Literally, the majority
Yeah,
of Russians don't want anyone else because no one who has been no one has been able to step up in the same level in the same manner.
yeah. No, that's pretty sad. That's sad that you guys don't believe another Russian can do it.
No,
That
no,
that
no, no,
someone
no one has
else
stepped. No one has
can't
stepped up.
present a better idea.
No, no,
You
no,
know what I
no.
mean?
That's not it.
His,
No one
you know what I
has.
mean?
No one has
I don't
stepped
know,
up that
man.
was good enough.
It sounds like it's one thing to be proud of your country
Hmm.
or whatever, but you have to be be able to be skeptical of them. You can't just say, "Oh, hey, my country is doing the right thing." You know what I
Oh,
mean?
you
This guy is
you'd be
Putin.
surprised. You'd be surprised.
You know?
The regular Russian here, they absolutely distrust everyone in government except for Putin. It's a weird thing to say, but that's actually true. So if you talk to a
Yeah,
regular person, they will absolutely say people in the government are thieves, people in the government are crooks. We don't trust
except for
them.
Putin.
But then you ask them, what do you feel? How do you feel about Putin? And I'm not talking about the Starbucks sipping, I am a boy today, I'm a girl tomorrow, liberal type kids who are 18 years old and can't tell if they're a boy or a girl. I'm talking about adults who have responsibilities. They'll tell you, yeah, I'm for Putin, especially
Yeah,
outside of the big cities. Especially in the south, the Chechens, for example, are all for him. They're probably the most loyal to him than anyone else.
no, no. Would you consider him a dictator?
He hasn't made me feel like I'm in a dictatorship.
So you don't consider him a dictator?
I mean, you have
He's
to.
shrugging your shoulders, either yes or no. You think he's a dictator or not?
No,
All right, that's cool.
because if,
That's
if he
cool,
was
man.
if he was a dictator, our country would be a whole lot cleaner, and people would actually abide by the law.
That's what dictatorship brings.
Obedience, yeah, that's the point. If you
Yeah.
don't, yeah, if you don't have a dictator, if you don't have people parking on the grass, not picking up dog shit, basically not making a mess out of things, then it's not a dictatorship. A dictatorship, people are afraid to destroy, or not destroy, but damage the lift. People are afraid of not following the laws. People don't follow the laws here all the time. It's not a dictatorship at all. In fact, it's more free than the
I don't
U.S.
think that's what would make a I don't think that's what makes a dictatorship.
No, to the regular person, that would be a dictatorship.
And I think Russian law is pretty strong. You know what I mean? I don't think there's too many people playing too many games against the law.
There's
I
a
mean, you're always
ton.
gonna have your
There's a ton of
you're always
people
gonna have your
playing games
criminal
against the law.
element. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You're always gonna have your criminal element in a country.
Hmm.
But
There's tons of
I
private
mean
businesses that are not registered at all, that are making
that doesn't
making money
define a
under the table.
dictatorship.
Well, yeah,
You know?
there's a whole bunch of little tiny businesses operating from their houses, selling stuff for cash under the table just because they don't feel like. I mean, the tax percentage for income is 4%. They don't even want to pay 4%. They're working under the table.
Yeah, nobody wants to pay taxes.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I think. Even 4%, 4% flat. So you
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you
that's
earn
crazy.
you earn $100, you pay $4. I mean, that's how it is here when it comes to sole proprietorships. It's 4%, then 6%, and 6 plus 1, depending on like how much you earn. If it's a lot of money, so no, there's a whole bunch of people don't follow laws here. It's actually a little bit, after living for 15 years in North America, it's actually a little bit disappointing that people don't follow the laws as much as they do in the U.S. But then again, we don't have those outrageous fines. Like, for example, here you can drive around with your tail lights out for, I've done so for months. No one stopped me. No police officer gave me a fine. Nothing like that.
Mm,
There's actually less laws when it comes to that here.
yeah. Now over here, it's all a money grab. So
No,
whatever they could get you for money,
like
they'll do it.
just to tell
In the
you,
name of safety, they'll say
yeah.
it's for.
Yeah, and here, for example, if you were to a police officer stops you and they check your documents and you exit your car, what happens in the U.S.? You just leave
You
your
get
car.
searched?
You just get out.
Huh? Yeah.
What happens? What's the cop do?
If the cop asks you to get out,
No,
or you
no,
just
you just get out on your own.
well, the cop is gonna, approach you like the cop's gonna be a dickhead about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Here you can get out of the car. You regularly see people getting out of the car and talking to police. So now think about it. What's a dictatorship and what's not a dictatorship? Here, you're not going to get shot by a cop during a traffic stop. You can get out without the officer's permission. In fact, most people do that. I still have trouble getting used to that. I still have fear when I see police based on my
So
life.
you don't fear the police over there at all?
Not at all.
You don't fear going to prison in Russia?
Well,
like you'll be...
No, hold on. If I do something illegal... If I go and beat somebody up, then if
like you feel you have your human rights are secure. You don't got to worry about nothing. You feel if you get arrested, you'll have a fair trial. You don't have to worry about none of that bullshit.
It's probably as fair as in the U.S. And in the U.S., you know that the more money you have, the more chances you have of getting off.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that is true.
It's kind of the same. We just don't fear police here because there's nothing to fear. They're not paranoid.
I mean, you don't have nothing to fear from the police here either if you're not doing nothing illegal.
I don't know. I went over the limit by 5 miles, and a PA state trooper stopped me at gunpoint in Philly.
Yeah.
That was the first day.
Yeah,
Remember when
that's the thing. The guns here, we have a big gun culture, so
yeah, we do as well.
There's always guns involved.
Russia is a bit more strict with weapons, but we have a gun culture here as well. In fact, I'm thinking about getting my license, actually. So
that's good.
So yeah, there's a lot more in common than you think, but. To think, see, the thing is, your media tells you that Ukrainians are little angels, and Putin came in there and just cut off their wings, and that's it. They didn't do anything wrong. In fact, before this, they were doing all kinds of reports about actual neo-Nazis all over Ukraine, in their ranks, their military, their government, and all of a sudden, poof, they don't exist anymore.
Do you believe that angle too?
There's literally there's enough evidence of the people who are, I mean, it's not like they're painting mustaches on their face, but they support those who collaborated with the Nazis in World War II. They fly their flags. They do. There's tons of them. They have marches, annual marches through Kiev. Well, probably not anymore, but they had annual marches for these past 7 years where they honor those who were fighting alongside the Waffen SS.
Yeah. How many people participate in those marches?
I didn't count, but they're actually quite big. If you look at video,
I mean, because we have marches here too, with Nazis marching around, but the number is insignificant. It's like a small ass number of people that nobody gives a shit about. You know what I mean? People are always gonna have their different views and stuff, and you're always gonna have your radical.
Okay, so let me give you an example. What is the blackest state in the U.S.? Would that be Louisiana, maybe? I know the whitest is Utah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we have any. I would say maybe Georgia.
Okay. Well, in this case, take Georgia, Louisiana, doesn't matter. So imagine this. Imagine you have these rallies in Utah, you neo-Nazi KKK rallies. The government supports them, literally, financially, the U.S. government. And at the same time, the U.S. government is murdering black people in Georgia and in Louisiana. So what? They're marching, but that's exactly what was happening in Ukraine. Yeah, they marched, but their government supported it, and their government supported the murder of Ukrainians and Russians in the East. So yeah, they were marching, but the other stuff was happening as well. It's a complicated conflict. It's not just going out to Iraq and saying, "Hey, we're going to bomb you for our freedom, miles and miles away."
Yeah, I mean that was all bullshit too. I had no problem telling you that we shouldn't have been in Iraq. We shouldn't have done any of that shit. You know what I mean? We shouldn't have taken out Saddam. There's a lot of shit that we shouldn't do. The military, the war games is that's just the rich people getting richer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's there's no justification for it. You know what I mean?
So I mean,
And
how?
I could easily criticize our government and be like, nah, man, we should not have been there. You know, none of that shit.
Mhm,
They ain't had nothing to do with 9/11. You know what I mean? Even the fucking Afghanistan situation.
mhm.
You know what I mean? We shouldn't have been in there for fucking 20 years, you know? But, that's part of the US economy is fucking
Yeah,
war,
yeah, and
you know?
actually, the this whole conflict is really not even about Ukrainians. Ukrainians are being used as cannon fodder to fight against Russia, but the main goal of it is the European gas market. Because now that
Mm,
Russia's cut off from selling, well, they're still actually buying because they have no choice. But the idea is to cut off Russia from selling gas to Europe so that the U.S. can sell liquefied natural gas through LNG stations in Poland that they've been building. That's the goal, and that goal
yeah.
has been accomplished actually with Ukrainians being used as cannon fodder, unfortunately.
Mm,
But
well,
how would you? I'm curious. How would you? Let's say these are verifiable facts. What I'm about to actually list, they're completely and entirely verifiable. So let's say that a country there says that we are going to invade, or we're going to take back the some areas militarily. We're going to completely get rid of the Minsk agreements that were supposed to bring peace, that were signed by Germany, France, Russia, Ukraine, and the republics. They're not going to be followed. Then the president of Ukraine says, we want nuclear weapons and we're going to take over those areas militarily. Meanwhile, they've been bombarded. I mean, these are all verifiable facts. So then, come the 22nd, Russia says, you know what? It's been 8 years. You don't want to follow the Minsk agreements. You said so yourself. Not you, but the government. We're going to legally recognize the republics. And once one country recognizes a potential, like with Kosovo, recognizes a republic, they can actually start legal trade and paperwork and sign agreements and stuff like that. Doesn't matter how many countries agree or disagree with it. So come the
yeah.
22nd, Russia says, you know what, maybe we can stop this from happening. We're going to recognize the republics. Kiev stops bombing those republics for a couple of hours. Now, at this time, they're no longer breakaway republics. They're officially recognized because they were recognized by one country. Kiev starts bombing them again.
Officially. That doesn't sound a little thing to you. Officially recognized because they're recognized by one country.
Kosovo. Kosovo was ripped away from Serbia, and Kosovo is not recognized by every single country on the planet. In fact,
Mm.
I can't remember how many, but it was only one country that recognized them, and all of a sudden they became a country. So that was 2008. It wasn't. It's not like we set the precedent. If Kosovo can be, it's we're not supposed to be hypocrites. So if Kosovo can be recognized, the Eastern republics can be recognized. I mean, in this case, Minsk agreements, they didn't want to be followed. The bombings and killings of Eastern Ukrainians didn't stop. So an invasion was being planned. So what do you do in this case? Do you just back down and wait for people to be killed? Or if you know a fight is imminent, you wouldn't fight first to get the better advantage?
I mean, I will say, whatever. If you feel that is justifiable to fight to recognize these countries, or you guys feel you're at threat,
Mm-hmm.
you feel your country's under threat. But I mean, they're not doing, and it might sound stupid, but they're not doing like conventional war tactics. You know what I mean?
No,
They're
21st
just
century is a bit different now. With you can communicate. You Russians and communicate with Ukrainians, and we're fighting a war. It's weird. It's not like previous wars.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just don't. I don't agree with any of what Russia's doing.
No, I know that's why it's interesting to have this conversation. So, we here we feel that we've been backed into a corner because we're surrounded by military installations, NATO military installations. It's not like
So
Russia's
you
in
guys
Canada.
you see NATO as a threat. You believe in that. You believe
Lib-
NATO's a threat to you guys.
Libya was destroyed by NATO countries. Afghanistan was invaded by NATO countries. Iraq was invaded by NATO countries.
But you don't think like Libya? Who is it? Libya?
Libya,
No, that's the one with who's their leader? So Assad,
Gaddafi was their leader. Assad
Gaddafi.
is
That's
Syria. Yeah.
Gaddafi. Yeah, I mean, yes. The one with Gaddafi. I
Hmm.
mean, come on, man. The guy was a fucking piece of shit. You know what I
He
mean?
was a piece of
Like
shit to
his
America.
to his people.
Why they?
That kind of,
He made research
dude,
what
look
he
how
did for
he
his
was
country.
living compared to the rest of his country. Like these
Like
governments don't just get
yeah,
toppled. You know what I mean? For no
like
reason.
some
You know?
senators live in compared to people in Appalachia. It's kind of the same thing.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's kind of
Because
the
there's
same
people
thing.
in the Appalachia that live wealthy. You know what I
Just
mean?
yeah, just like people
Like,
in Libya were living wealthy as well. But the main
yeah,
point
but
of
not
Libya was
the
different though.
the most of the population in the U.S. is living comfortably. You know what I mean? Nobody is living like dirt poor.
No, you're
You know,
just
they're dirt.
living paycheck to paycheck as what, 60% or 70% now? It's gone up and down. Every year it changes. People that live
Yeah,
paycheck
but
to
I'm
paycheck.
just saying nobody like these senators are living comfy. And they got their lifetime benefits. They got everything.
Yeah, they're millionaires.
But yeah, but their citizens aren't living like on the street, on dirt roads. Libya, man, that dude had to go,
But
man.
why?
I
This is
mean,
the thing. He
the
is people in his country. One, there was no what do you call it? Borrowing rate, so you could borrow loans free of any kind of percentage. Newly wedded
I mean, I
couples
don't
were
know if you're
given.
gonna sit here and defend like
No,
Gaddafi.
I'm not
I mean, I don't,
defending. I'm
I
not
don't know what
defending.
to tell
I'm
you,
being
man. But like,
objective. No, I'm being
you're
objective because it's one
there,
thing. It's
there's
one
no
thing to say.
like to be there's no like to be objective
No,
there.
there is.
Gaddafi was a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
He was
why? But
taking
why?
advantage of his because he took advantage of his country. He took his country's resources, gathered them all for him, left his
Did you
countrymen poor.
did
You know
you
what I
know
mean?
that he did you know
Why do
that
you
one
think
of
he
his
got toppled? It was easy for him to get toppled.
No,
You know what I
actually,
mean?
hold on a second. But did you know that that's why I'm saying thinking objectively helps paint a better picture. Did you know about the
That's
water project that he had? Did you know about his water project?
no. You could
Research.
enlighten me about the water
No, 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 no,
project
no,
that
no.
he has
No,
that
recent.
that
No, no,
will
research it. No,
justify
no, no.
all his
That's just one thing.
bullshit
That's just one thing.
behavior.
That's just
You know
one
what I
thing.
mean?
That's just one thing.
There's only so much an evil person can do to justify their bullshit.
But I mean,
Eventually it's gonna
you're.
come to a head. You know what I
I
mean?
get it.
And just like it'll come to a head in America too, eventually. You know what I mean? Like these motherfuckers ain't gonna keep getting away with what they're getting away with. You know what I mean? Eventually the people will rise up, and there'll be new laws passed. There'll be new shit.
Mm-hmm.
And
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter for us. See, the thing is, I read both sides of the newspapers and media and everything like that.
yeah, you have to. You
Yeah,
got to.
and the thing is, when your media constantly paints my president as a dictator, and I find it hilarious because to us he's not a dictator. For us, this
But
is
I
a
mean, I
joke.
don't know how you cannot see that he's a dictator when he's been in power for 20 something years.
So Finland had a
Like, how is that
Finland
okay? Like,
Finland
for
had somebody in power
An
for longer.
American, that was what's that?
Finland had a president who was in power for longer. Merkel in Germany was in power for 16 or 15 years, almost the same amount as Putin. So they're not considered dictators. The Prime Minister of Canada can
But
be in power for as long as he wants. So if people keep voting for him, he will always remain in power. Do you know that? That's
No, I
Canada.
didn't know.
That's look him up. He can.
Yeah, but how long? What's the longest that a Canadian prime minister has been there?
I got to look it up. It's somewhere between 12 and 15 years.
Well, I mean,
That's
I don't know.
that's a type of government. In the U.S., they have term limits, and that's okay. And that's your country. But it's the senators that don't have term limits, and we know the senators do a whole bunch of things to run the country. But at the same time, our finance minister has changed. Our health ministers have changed. Other ministers who work in the country have changed. But the thing is, for us, if we want to keep voting for somebody because we approve of what he's doing internally,
And you have trust in your election process.
there's some fraud. But when you have every station has a camera, every station has a transparent booth, there's police, there are independent. If you want to be like a volunteer and you want to go watch the thing happen, you can. Everything is completely filmed with like several different cameras from all angles. Like, yeah, there's probably fraud, but It's better than when I voted in Canada. That was in a room with two people, no cameras, a box that was not transparent, and you're doing it with a pencil, saying, "Hey, go here." I believe you're voting with a pen. In Canada, it was with a pencil. Someone could just erase it and go, "Oh, it's somebody else now." And Canada's the neighbor. Canada's your neighbor up north. You know, they're supposed to be more democratic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, it's been a good conversation.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Likewise. I
But
I highly suggest that you do a little bit more research on the conflict in Ukraine, because it's unfortunate that people there are losing their lives.
nah, I mean, I don't think I need much more research of you know, towns being bombed and civilian casualties and just taking out, you know, homes and shit like that.
I'd suggest you.
And
Do you
you
know?
guys are well overpowered.
Oh, we haven't
Ukraine. Like,
we haven't even
you guys
used
are,
the
you guys are. There's like really not even a reason for
what?
all the violence that you guys
Well,
are doing.
I suggest these are. It's an American guy, so Patrick Lancaster, he's American. Graham Phillips, he's British. There's a guy with the nickname Texas. He's over in eastern Ukraine. They're all bloggers, and they're talking to regular people. They're filming it, and they're showing it. They're all on YouTube. They're Americans. They're British people. They're not Russians. Take a look at what people in those areas where the Russians are actually saying. You'd be
Eastern
surprised.
Ukraine.
Eastern Ukraine.
Yeah, that's like half Russia.
No, but,
I mean, that's
no. Take a
of
look
course
at.
they're
No,
gonna be saying that.
that's the thing. You're saying bombing cities. Mariupol is probably the most bombed out city. Listen to what the people there are telling Patrick Lancaster and Graham Phillips as to who's at fault for all the bombing. You'd be surprised. And they're Americans and British. They're not Russian.
All right, man.
Cool?
Cool. I'll look into it.
All right.
You have a good one, man. Good conversation, bro.
Yeah, likewise. You too, man.
God bless.
Peace.
Peace.
Ciao.